Welcome back, Pro Football Pod here to give you all of the information that you've been looking for. Covering the AFC West this week, but before that, let's talk a little bit of fantasy football. You guys got any leagues you're running this year? How many?
Only 28 this year. Only 3 for money.
That's
You know,
insane.
Austin
I'm
is
actually
not
not-
joking.
I'm actually not in a league yet.
You're not.
Last
So
year
are
I
you
only
just thinking
ran.
about
the
going
pedal
cold
to the
turkey?
metal.
Well, no, last year I only ran 3 leagues because I don't like running that many leagues like I used
Agreed.
to. But then you're essentially playing yourself every week because yes, you might have Austin Eckler in one league, but you also have the 49ers defense and they're playing each other. So it's like, oh, well, either
Yeah.
way. And and then
I
you
feel
get
that.
to the end of the season, it's like, okay, well, I'm in 24 leagues and I was able to make the playoffs in 6 of them. So I'm just going to pay attention to these 6 now. Versus if I'm only in 3 leagues and I'm able to make the playoffs in 3 out of 3, I feel better about that. So I keep myself to my Twitter group chat. We've got a sleeper league that we're in. I think Colby, you were in it with us last year. We're talking about moving it to a dynasty league, actually. So stay tuned for that.
Is it still 24-hour drafts?
Oh my! Probably just because
That
everybody is in
was
such different time
insane.
zones.
I
but
feel
man,
that. It's insane.
it's
I
insane.
mean,
It takes
I
so long.
assume I haven't pissed anybody off too much that I'll probably be in that one too. But I know that I'm in 3 Yahoo leagues right now. One of them's for a championship belt, so we're gonna have it right there for all the people to see. Hey, puppy. But I'm in another league that's the dynasty, and then I've got another league that's the family league that Justin you are in. You haven't been emailed anything yet, but that'll come in time. So we got the AFC West this week. Huge division. Honestly, lots of fantasy
Huge.
relevance. Lots of fear because of some of these teams like the Raiders. People are really not knowing what to expect out of them. So people are really afraid to draft Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs like at their draft positions, even though they're likely going to way outperform that. So let's talk about the Chiefs first. Who do you guys want to cover?
I mean, let's cover them Chiefs.
Who do you want to cover in the Chiefs?
Oh, on
Oh,
the
who in
Chiefs.
the Chiefs?
On the
Oh,
Chiefs.
yeah.
you got to start with
Yeah.
the main man,
Yeah, you got to start with
Patrick
1-5.
Mahomes. I mean,
Number
Like you're
50.
wearing
he's
the
at the
jersey,
top.
he's got the jersey in the background. Like, yeah, you got to start with the 1-5, right?
He's
Like,
the face of
but
the NFL.
that's like you start with him because there's really not much to say. Like it's Patrick Mahomes.
So he's the
Yeah, but
quarterback one though. He's going at ADP 14. That means that you are just barely getting him on the wrap. You picked at like 7 or 8 on your 10 to 12 team league. And like you might be able to get him at that point on the wraparound. So there's a lot of chance that like you could have gotten Kelsey in the first round, and then get Mahomes in the wrap. And a lot
It's
of
a huge
people
commitment.
they call these the onesies positions because you're not really supposed to draft 2 tight ends. Like you can, but like drafting a second tight end isn't really a necessity if you get a good one early, especially one like Kelsey. You don't need a backup that's gonna maybe do something because what are you gonna do with him? You're never gonna start him. You're never gonna put him in your flex. I think that that's the only way I look at either of these players, though. If I can't match them together, I really don't want them. Like if I can't get Kelsey, if I'm not sitting there at 7 or 8, and Kelsey's there,
You have to
for
be
me,
sitting at 5.
Really? I don't know about that. In mock drafts, he might be going a little bit earlier
like
because people.
5, 6.
Oh,
But
I've told you, I have an entire draft strategy based on taking Travis Kelsey anywhere in the first round, like first overall. I have a draft strategy for that.
He's
Are
been
you
the best
taking
pass
Mahomes
catcher
with him?
over the last 6 years. I
But
mean, you're trying to, but that's what I'm saying. For me, if I can't get both, I don't want either. Because Travis Kelsey is going to be a great pass catcher. I still am going to have to fill 3 wide receiver positions. Like, I'm going to have to fill all these other things. And I think that the tight ends, after the fall off from Kelsey, they're all relatively the same. Like, Mark Andrews and Hawkinson, they are in that tier 2 and then tier 3 starts, but it's not that much of a difference between tier 2, 3, and 4 for tight ends.
I think it's kind of rare though to get like these top tier players on the same team to like have that connection with each other. So if you can grab both of them, like it is important. But even if you could
Especially
just get one of them, like it can just elevate your team that much more.
once you
Like
get
my
Those
thing
Kelsey,
though
type of
with
everyone
them
players.
knows
as
you're looking at
well,
Mahomes.
Kelsey is great. Like there's nothing taking anything away from Kelsey. But I don't know if Kelsey would be the same statistical anomaly that he is if he didn't have, number one, just the talent of Patrick Mahomes, and also just the relationship with Mahomes. Like, because we got to look at it like Travis Kelsey's almost 32 years old. He's getting to where he's towards the end of his career. Before he had Patrick Mahomes there with him, he was still effective. Like you could see the talent, but it was nothing like what we're seeing now.
I
And
think
so
he's
my
also
thing
hit a
is,
different stride in his career. Like I mean, he's gotten older and older now, but we saw him become who he was because of his athleticism changing and his ability to change the game. Like he's changed the tight end game.
Now, if you can't get Kelsey and Mahomes in the first 2 rounds, I'm definitely for waiting and getting talent in the first 2 rounds and then getting Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews. Like that's the next tier of, same team connection, tight end quarterback that you can stack up. I like that one, but like after that, it's like Hurts and Goddard, and that's like the only three in the league really that I'm comfortable with in those early rounds.
So you don't want Hawkinson?
That's I only did in one league out of my 25. I just picked him up in one. I have not seen him fall to me at least. Maybe people are snagging him quicker than I want to, but I think he does have good value. But it's just I don't know if he can be as consistent as we've seen with these other tight ends and the quarterback play.
So is there anybody else on this team that you guys are even looking at?
Um, Definitely Isaiah Pacheco. I don't think you can not look at him. He's a receiving back. We see what the league's changing to. These receiving backs are crucial when it comes to fantasy.
see, but the thing there is he's not the receiving back on that team. It's McKinnon. McKinnon had
Yeah,
71 targets, 56 receptions, 500 yards, and 9 receiving touchdowns last season.
he's also a
Like
rookie. He was also a rookie. So
he
like,
was. So his role will increase, and I do
yeah,
like. But honestly, outside of Mahomes and Kelsey, like unless I'm taking guys like Valdez Scantling or you're just taking a shot on guys like Sky Moore just
I don't think you
because their
can take a
quarterback is
receiver.
Mahomes. I mean, really, I'm not looking at any of them because Mahomes spreads the ball out so much. If he's
Exactly.
not going to Kelsey, to where they have decent value as like a makeshift flex guy for you week in and week out, but to be able to take a guy and be, oh, they're my starter. I mean, if Pacheco was my running back too, I would still be nervous week to week on like my production.
Yeah.
It's where you're getting Pacheco's not bad because he's a few rounds after people like Madison are gone. So there's not a lot of people that are surrounding Pacheco that have a lot of value. Like there's not a lot of running backs that are still there that are on a good team that are going to be in scoring position often. I think that that's the thing that helps everyone on the Chiefs is that
Mhm.
all of them have this chance of getting a touchdown every week because Mahomes does spread it out. And in the past, you had to deal with players like Robinson that just kind of like didn't do anything ever, but they would just steal 1 or 2 touchdowns, randomly every couple weeks. I think that Rice being undrafted is someone that's interesting to keep an eye on. I think that a lot of these
Very.
guys are going to be waiver wire targets for me. I'm going to look to see where are they being targeted after the first 3 weeks. Is there someone that's consistently getting 8 targets or more? And if they are, then I'm looking to pick up that guy. It could be anybody. Sky Moore looked solid last year. He didn't look like Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill and just like electric with the ball in or out of his hand, but he does look fast. He does look like he has part of his game, and we know what Mahomes likes to do with running around in the pocket.
Their
Tony
receiving room is insane.
Tony is
Kadarius
the one
Tony.
I'm the most terrified of because of the injury history. If he falls because of that, and you can get him at like 140, 130, but even at 110, I mean that's late. You're not really taking much risk. I still that's my fear. So that's where I sit on, obviously, like first round, second round. If I can get Mahomes, Kelsey, then I'm just sitting back for the rest of the draft and just picking best player available, and I don't have to worry about these two positions. I take a ton of running backs and wide receivers and have fun all season.
I think these receivers for the Chiefs can be good in best ball leagues, like
I like
Rashee
that.
Rice
That's a good
and
call.
like Justin Ross.
I'd say Sky
Like,
Moore more. I think that
yeah,
because of him already being a year in the system, Rashi Rice being a rookie, I know that he's electric and he looks like he's the
it's
best, but
just
they've
nice to
been
see
redrafting
the.
Tyreek Hill every year.
Yeah, that's my point. It's nice to see them get actual like decent sized bodies in there, though. It looks like they've had
Yeah,
these two smaller receivers like the Sky Moore type.
McCall
I mean, their
Hardman, and
team,
just over and
yeah,
over and over again.
and their team is fast as hell. But like that's the scary thing about the Chiefs is you don't know who he's going to throw the ball to, and so good luck. Except
Anything
for
else we want to talk about for the Chiefs? I think that's pretty much
I think
enough
on
said.
a season note that they were very fortunate of health last year. Mahomes, Pacheco, McKinnon, Valdez Scantling, and Kelsey all played 17 games in the
that's
regular
pretty
season.
insane, actually.
Like,
Now,
so as far as, looking at them to repeat, you've got to figure some of those guys are going to miss a handful of games this year because
The fact Kelsey missed no games is
injuries,
crazy.
like injuries are just a crapshoot every year. But most teams, like the Ravens that we talked about a few weeks ago, all of the injuries they went through last year, they're probably not going to go through those this year. So they're going to be a dangerous team. But the Chiefs are one of those on the flip side to where be a little weary because some of those injuries are coming like that,
I
no
like
pun
that. That's not a
intended,
bad
but
call.
that bad juju is going to end up coming back on them
either that
because,
or
I
they
mean,
just
you don't wish injuries on people, but I mean, your quarterback playing all 17 games, your star tight end playing all 17 games, both of
and
your
getting
running
hurt in the
backs, like,
playoffs. Your
exactly.
quarterback
So,
messed his ankle up hard after the first
think
playoff game or second playoff game. So
I
yeah,
think it, I think it shows that team's grit and what they can play through, and that anybody they put out there can try and perform for them. Did you see their secondary on their defense? Is all 5 rookies starting on their team?
they had a lot
Last
of
year,
rookies on their defense starting last year, too.
that's what I'm saying. They have their back 5 DBs, safeties, and stuff was all 5 rookies that
from
took them to
last
the
year,
fucking yeah, and
gotcha.
took them to the
That
Super
won the
Bowl.
Super
And
Bowl.
yeah,
Hmm.
insane. Like that's
Oh,
just crazy.
they've just been building up their defense in the draft. Like when you have Mahomes and Kelsey, you're able to do that.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. Now, talking about someone that's gritty, Justin Herbert, he showed us last year that there's some injuries that are obviously going to take a player out that they have no control over. But if it's something that's within their control, he's probably not going to miss games. Him playing through that rib pain and getting healthy while playing and making it through and having a solid season. They lost games that they shouldn't have lost, and on a football standpoint, Herbert, failed in some ways, but on a fantasy standpoint, he looks like he's just stepping it up. He's got more mobility than Mahomes. He's got a freaking rocket for an arm. They just drafted Quentin Johnson, so I think that plus having the best receiving back in football, the receiving core that they already had. I mean, Christian McCaffrey's amazing, but he's also older, and I think that
I feel
Now,
that.
pure receiving, Eckler's better.
I think we need to cut it back just a little bit on Eckler being the best receiving back in the league as far as
Yeah,
his
24.
talent as a receiver. The
It's
amount
his
of
volume.
exactly, he's the highest volume receiving back in the league.
So for
He
a
gets
receiving
Yeah.
back that I want in fantasy football, not talking talent
Now,
wise,
but what
we're
you're
talking
hoping though
fantasy
is
football.
you're thinking
And
with
you
the
know who the
new
quarterback
offensive
is.
coordinator with Kellen Moore, those dump offs and those check downs may not be taking place as much this year.
Yeah,
which
but they
would
might
watch
be
the Cowboys
working
tape.
his
swing
value.
routes. I think that they start to utilize him more. I don't think that Kellen Moore comes in and says we need to use him less. Look at Tony Pollard last year. If Eckler can get the type of plays that Tony Pollard was breaking because of good blocking and scheme and stuff like that, then I think that Eckler's going to have an even better season. So I'm still in on him.
Well,
I
see,
haven't
that's
had
where I'm
a
with you.
draft
I
that
think
could get
Eckler
him.
does get more of a focus as we see what he does as a runner. Why are we not giving him the ball more? I mean, he averaged 4.5 yards a carry. So, I mean, that's my thing is I think you see his value as a receiver drop, but I do think you see his yards per game as a running back go up. I mean, only 53 yards per game rushing last year, but he also countered that with 42 yards per game receiving. So he was giving you 100 yards total a game and basically a touchdown a game. 13 rushing, 5 receiving.
He is that bell cow back, and he's going to get used as one.
Well, you also look too as well as I was looking at it. Okay, why did he get used so much? Like I understand the checkdowns, but why? Then you go and find out Keenan Allen played 10 games. Mike Williams played 13. And he was forced to use guys like Josh Palmer and Jalen Guyton, which no sweat to them. Like they were great for betting each week as far as prop bets. They were good streaming options in your flex spot. But those aren't the guys you're wanting to lean on. Whereas now this year, they have Quentin Johnson. That's an extra mouth to feed. And I mean, Gerald Everett, he was solid down the stretch for him again because all of their receivers were hurt. So you figure you get a full year out of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, hopefully this year, and you've got Quentin Johnson as well. Like I said, Eckler, I would still take him at the top of the draft because you almost have to because of the volume. But I do expect a slight drop back for him this year simply because of these guys should be healthy and Quentin Johnson's going to be another mouth that he's going to want to feed because of the athletic ability.
It's interesting you said Joshua Palmer because I haven't seen his name come across the boards at all. Like
he doesn't. I went and looked for his ADP. He wasn't even popping up. He's going to be a waiver wire guy.
Dude.
As soon as one of those three get hurt, he'll be picked up on the waiver wire immediately.
What it was is that even whenever both of them were down, he didn't. Okay, whenever Keenan Allen disappears, then someone is supposed to become Keenan Allen. They're supposed to put up 15 to 20 points a game. Now, that's supposed to be Mike Williams. And Mike Williams did really well whenever Keenan Allen went down. But whenever Mike Williams went down, then someone else is supposed to become Keenan Allen. It's not supposed to be that 4 guys share and become Keenan Allen equally. And that's the issue. That's what Josh Palmer did last year, and that's why no one trusts him. He's a lot like the guy from the Colts that every year for the last 3 years is supposed to be the guy. And I've never bought into him because he plays receiver for the Colts. Thank you, Paris Campbell. And didn't ever do it. And now no one will invest in him enough because he'll never do it. He's on a new team now, and no one has any expectations for Paris Campbell. I think it's the exact same thing for Joshua Palmer.
And that's what I talk about. And that's what I talk about having short-term memory in the NFL. You can't go season to season. You got to remember what these players were doing 2 to 3 seasons ago. Are they an injury-prone player? Debo is one of those guys I'll never forget. He's an injury-prone player. Last season was his first season. He had a full season. Same thing with A.J. Brown. So, I keep that in the back of my mind whenever I'm drafting these players.
The best ability is availability.
Damn right. That's why I do see a lot of value in Quentin Johnson this year because of those injury aspects with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. I don't see them being healthy. I have yet to see them be healthy.
Especially because he's ADP 118, so round 11, wide receiver 47. So he's a bench guy no matter what. But he's one of those, as soon as you get your starting lineup filled out, go ahead and snag him because he's just one of those, low risk, high reward players because of where you're able to get him in the draft. And as soon as Mike Williams or Keenan Allen go down, or with Keenan Allen being towards the end of his career, if they try to, keep him on a kind of a snap count towards the beginning of the season, Quentin Johnson's going to have hella value.
Exactly. That's where I'm looking at guys like that this year. I'm letting Keenan Allen go in the third and fourth round because as much of a wide receiver as he is, as much of a tactician at route running and glue on his gloves, if he can't be on the field, like he just loses so much value. And he showed us
Mm-hmm.
early in his career that he couldn't stay healthy. He had this 2 year stretch where he started to gain people's like, hey, is he a top 20 guy? Should I be taking him in the second and third round? And he's proven now that with the investment that they're making at receiver, it's because this 29 to 30 something year old receiver is not the guy. He keeps getting hurt and they're never going to win a championship behind him. So they need Quentin Johnson to be the shit. They need him to learn from Keenan. So I think that Keenan definitely no. Austin Eckler, obviously, yes. Herbert, quarterback 6, third, fourth round. I'm trying to get more fourth, fifth round, end of the fourth, into
I
the
think
fifth.
it's solid value where you can get him at. Like if you miss all those top tier quarterbacks,
If you
like
miss
he's the next
Burrow,
guy I'm looking for.
Now, we talked about them already, but are you guys high on Burrow with the calf strain? I've heard the news today was that he looks better than ever, that the calf
I don't
strain
think
is
it's an
completely not a
issue.
thing. So
Yeah,
you're drafting him in the third round then, right after Mahomes goes, he's the next quarterback that you're looking at?
yeah, I don't believe in the question mark before the season starts. Like that to me is like the player just has to go in and get checked out. Like I get that Burrow has a calf strain, but like this is the NFL. These people know how to take care of these players. Like
Yeah. And I
these
mean,
athletes.
he's starting week 1. So you're going to get full season
He knows what's
production
on the
as long as
line.
he doesn't get hurt during the season. So
He's gonna have to take it easy going into the season. He can't come like full out sprinting 15 yards down the field for scrambles when he needs to. But he's gonna
And
have to
we'll
slide
see.
more
That's
often.
why for me, Burrow's behind Mahomes and all of the guys with rushing value, like Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson. Like
Justin
just because, Fields, like Burrow doesn't give you. Well, no, I would still take Burrow over
He's
Fields because
above in
Fields
the
is almost
ADP, but
all rushing right now.
yeah, he's
To
like
where you're just
2,500 yards
hoping.
passing.
Yeah,
But
you're
that's what
just
you're gonna see
hoping he
this year.
progresses as a passer, but I would still take Burrow over Fields. But I mean, like I said, he's right behind those guys with the rushing ability. But that's just because he doesn't give you that rushing ability. And I mean, yeah, he's averaging 300 yards passing a game, but a couple rushing touchdowns and 30 to 40 rushing yards a game is also nice whenever you're able to throw for that as well. So Mahomes is the only one without the rushing stuff to where I'm absolutely going to take him. But Mahomes still even had 400 yards and 4 touchdowns rushing last year.
It's too bad you don't get rushing yards for behind the line of scrimmage, or else he would have the most.
Just back and forth. running.
Literally.
He would. He'd have so many. He'd have so many.
Not more than Kyler Murray, man. He ran like,
Oh,
what was it, like 150 yards on one play for like
Straight
a
up.
minute and a half or something? It was crazy. So you guys want to talk about the Chargers anymore? Anything else to add? Mike Williams, decent draft value, 25 receiver, but still.
You got to talk about that run from Isaiah Spiller in the preseason. That boy was running with that grit.
All right. So everyone out there, every one of your friends that tells you that there's this guy that's about to become the Austin Eckler for Melvin Gordon, like, Melvin Gordon got pushed out by Austin Eckler, and ever since he did that, every year, all I've heard as someone that held on to Austin Eckler is how, this year it's this Joshua guy. He's gonna come in and he's gonna
Josh Kelly, put some respect on his name.
Oh man, he was so good, dude, for the 2 plays that he played. And then Isaiah Spiller for the last couple of years. Don't listen to him. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Austin Eckler, but this man is motivated and ready to be the best. He looks like a thumb. He is a muscle, one muscle all the way around. So I'm
talking for like handcuff situational because he's the third running back off the board. So like if he
gets hurt,
he's getting used and abused.
If he gets hurt, nobody can match his value. It's just like if Christian McCaffrey goes down, you get Chuba Hubbard, but like you get Chuba Hubbard. Are you really going to hold on to Chuba Hubbard all year to potentially get him instead of just if he gets hurt, then you go get him?
I think it's Chuba Hubbard. You're saying Chuba Hubbard, like Hubba Bubble?
Chuba.
Like some Hubba Bubble bubblegum?
So,
it's the offensive scheme and like the way they run their offense though. Like there's so much production through Austin Eckler. Whenever you have a back in there, it's just a plug and play situation. Like it's not. They
You're
don't
not going
try
to
to
get the
take a
same
step
production
back.
though.
No, I get
They
that, but
do
try to feed
run
it and
different
like
schemes and like they run different sets. Whenever if Austin Eckler goes down, then the next big target is going to become Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Quentin Johnson. Like
Yep.
those three are going to get all the value from it. So getting the handcuff to Eckler isn't like getting the handcuff to Tony Pollard for this year, or like
Deuce Vaughn,
that's
baby.
not a good example.
It is actually. Deuce Vaughn's gonna be that shit.
True.
Deuce Vaughn's going to get power bombed at the line of scrimmage and be taken out for life.
Bro, what?
Actually,
Have you
no,
not seen how
that's
shifty he is?
mean.
You
That's
don't know where he's
terrible.
going.
We need to take that back. We're going to take the not,
What?
but I mean, for real though, dude's 5'7". Like you're telling me he goes up against
Austin
Jordan
Eckler's
Davis.
5'9".
Austin Eckler also is a bricked out shit house.
And,
Like,
and,
dude's just-
and he's been in the league for 11
Listen,
years. So
Listen,
you
I'm
know.
just telling you, Jordan
For how long?
Davis at that line of scrimmage is going to be waiting on him. He's going to pick him up and throw him backwards with the football. Loss of yards.
He's gonna spin right out of it. Come on now. This Deuce we're talking about.
Whoop. So, speaking of spinning out of it, Javonte Williams got hurt last year, and everyone is terrified of him. I think that he's one
I'm
of my
not.
sleepers. Running back 28 is terrifying because, like, it's like, how has he fallen that far? Why has he fallen that far? I feel like a lot of the reason he's not being picked up is because of his ADP. People are just so terrified of what they don't know. All I know is what I saw last year. I saw the best running back in football
Yes.
until he went down.
2 or 3 years.
But
Last was his
last year
third year?
specifically, he was the best running back in football until he went down. And there's no way he doesn't repeat that.
Their team has
Well, you're
gone
getting
up
him
with
in the-
Sean Payton. So
You're
like,
getting him in
I
the
feel like that's gonna
7th
help them.
round. So, like, for
Yes.
his value alone, I mean, you're getting him as, like, what, your
I'm taking
top
him in the
flex
6th.
option?
I'm not waiting for the fucking 7th. I'm not
Mhm.
waiting for that at all.
Well, that's what I'm
Nah.
saying. Like,
Beautiful
because
flex
of
play.
that value, you could take him in the 5th and make him your running back 3 and your top flex guy, and you would be perfectly fine. Now, in a PPR with Sean Payton coming in, I'm not sure because Sean Payton loves bringing out those scat backs on 3rd down, like Darren Sproles.
Javonte can receive
Pierre
the ball
Thomas.
too, though. I see him utilizing him in
He
a
can.
similar way to Kamara. He's not Kamara. I'm not saying.
But Sean
the same
Payton's
thing.
never had like a bell cow back in his offense. He's never had one guy that's just carried the whole load. He has
Kamara,
Kamara, yes, but not as far as like
He's always had,
absolute
like,
bell cow. He's always had-
not Ladainian.
Reggie
Darren
Bush.
Sproles, Pierre Thomas, like he's had these guys that are able to come in and be the receiving back. And Kamara got to where he was the receiving back. Kamara was getting more looks out of the backfield for receptions because Taysom Hill was coming in and taking all of the rushing stuff short of the goal line. Like, so that's my thing. Sean Payton's all about just chess pieces. He don't care about like, oh, well, you know, you got us down here to the 20. Let's go ahead and let you punch it in. Like, no, homie, grab a water break, take a breath, and let's go ahead and get the fresh legs in there. So for me, in a PPR, I can understand why his value would be in the 7th round. But I completely understand also taking him early because I would as well. Especially if
Judy
you wait on
then-
a running back.
Judy, then you've got to spend 4th or 5th round ADP. He's wide receiver 23. So you're getting him a couple wide receivers after Keenan Allen. I think I would probably take him before Keenan Allen, if we're being real. Just
Really?
like, I'd
'Cause
say
of
right
injury.
before him. Because of injuries.
Injury aspects.
Judy's...
But
So Judy is a different type of player than Keenan Allen. I like him for a different reason. Keenan Allen is a pure target player. He's going to get 14 targets a game. You know that. You're going to live off of that. Judy only needs to get 1 target for 75 yards and a touchdown for him to have value, and his chance of making that happen is just so high. I think that that's the real value that Sean Payton can bring in, that he's going to bring a real offensive scheme. And Judy, I think, will be the biggest piece that gets the most value. Not saying that you should draft him before the 5th round or the 4th round where he's going. I'm just saying that of all the people on this team, of all of them, Javonte Williams and Judy are the only two that I really see a lot of value in. Sutton, you're getting him a lot later. I just don't know if he doesn't get 14 targets a game, then Sutton has zero value.
Sutton's almost a handcuff for Judy.
Exactly. I like
Like,
that.
because you're able to get him 5 rounds later, you can take Judy and then you wait a few rounds and then you just take his wide receiver too. Now, you're going to have weeks to where Sutton's going to outperform Judy just based on matchups and stuff, but I'm with you because, again, discussing a Sean Payton offense, we see him trade out his running backs and stuff, but when it comes to tight ends and wide receivers, if he has a favorite target, that dude is going to get fed 13 to 14 targets a game. And that's where I think Judy might be headed this year himself, because when he was on the field last year, Russ absolutely was going to him anytime they needed a big play. So I'm absolutely with you. I would take Judy, but I would also have in the back of my mind, I need to take Sutton just because you're going to need that handcuff there, because after them, it's Marvin Mims Jr., the rookie that they just took this year. He's got talent, but he's a much different ball player. He's 5'11", and he's going to be working out of the slot for him. So he's going to PPR. He might have great value in Dynasty,
and he's absolutely worth.
Consistent.
Just like everybody on the Chiefs, he's worth keeping an eye on for the fantasy waiver wire. The Broncos, the Chargers, the Chiefs, and the Raiders, all 4 of these offenses could end up being one of the top 5 producing fantasy offenses in football. They all have offensive coordinators that are great. They all have talent that is great. So it's any of these could end up being top offenses, and which means that the guys like Mims Jr. are going to have a bunch of extra value that no one saw coming. All that guy needs is 5 or 6 targets a game, and he's worth keeping on your bench. So that's the type of stuff that we're looking for. That's why we made this podcast. It's what we want you guys to understand. Is like, it's not about the draft. Some of these guys, yeah, we're not drafting them, but we're definitely keeping an eye on them because that's the value that we're going to get that's going to win us a championship throughout the season. Dolchik, I don't know. I know that he was big for, was it Arizona last year?
He played for Denver last year.
Denver. He was the dude with the curly hair.
But they brought in Adam Troutman.
What happened to Albert O? Albert O's just gone?
It was the biggest hype train last year that just fucking sank into the earth.
Yep.
Yeah, it was awful.
But they brought in Adam Troutman, who has history with Sean Payton from New Orleans.
Okay.
He's just a big-bodied red zone target. You're looking at 3 to 4 receptions for 30 to 40 yards a game maximum for this guy, but he's still probably going to end the year with 7 to 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's actually a really good tight end. I liked him for the Saints, right?
Yep.
Damn, I thought he was younger, like on his rookie contract still. Like he was already able to get traded.
I think he hit free agency, and they just brought him in free agency this year. To be honest, I'm not 100%.
Okay.
So
do you think we should throw away what like Russ did last year, or like actually take that with a grain of salt, like and bring it into the season? Like,
it's
we
hard.
know everybody. If you think about like Sean Payton
quarterback
coming in
18,
and the Russ
ADP
coming in
130
before last year, we would be super hype about the Broncos. But because we know what Russ did last year, it's like scary, like to actually invest in these players, except for like Javonte and Judy.
Right. Really easy. If you guys remember the game after Nathaniel Hackett got fired, Russ actually looked like he was on fire. He looked solid. He was running a much better version of the offense. So it could have been that every adjustment that Nathaniel Hackett made was the wrong one. It could be that that's just what it was. And that as soon as he was gone, Russ was able to run it the way he wanted to. Now, also at the same time, there was a lot of talk last year about Russ doing his own thing. And Sean Payton has already nipped that in the bud. That's not happening. You're not bringing your people in. It's us. It's our team. This is how we're going to do it at the facility. You can do everything you want out of the facility. So I think right away we should see a different Russ. He's a superstar and a celebrity beyond football ever since like he got married to Sierra and like won a Super Bowl real young. So he's kind of, you have to worry about that personality a little bit. He's not some humble guy that's like trying to
On the
win it all like a
grind.
Herbert or a Mahomes. Like
He
where you
tries
just
to
see
come off as humble, but
exactly, but he's bigger
The
than life
humblest.
now.
No, like I said, with Sean Payton coming in, I think it is a matter of, kind of throw out last year is, just one of those seasons for him. But it's also one of the ADP 130. So you're looking at 13th round. I don't want him as the only quarterback on my roster. So if I either take a quarterback before him, I'm cool with taking him as like my streaming guy or,
Richardson.
my insurance guy.
Like my backup to Tua.
But if I
don't mind
wait to
Russ.
take a quarterback, if I wait and I take Russ, then I'm absolutely within a few rounds, I'm looking to take one of those rooks like Stroud, Bryce Young, Richardson, if they're falling. I am going to get another quarterback on my roster. I don't want him as the only one, but he's one of those to where he's high risk, high reward for me. Like if he's back to Russ for you this year with Sean Payton, then I mean, you've got to. My thing with him, you're looking at 60% completion percentage, 16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. That's completely out of character for him. Just absolute as far as accuracy wise. That's where I see that's going up this year. And because of that, I do think Russ has a lot of value where you're able to get him.
What was crazy about last year was that Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf were supposed to totally fall off the planet, and Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton were supposed to just become meteoric stars. And that didn't happen. And it was because of Russ going and changing. That the reason Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf were so good was because of Russ. I think that that's why Cortland Sutton is falling so much. And in a lot of ways, I think that Sean Payton has a lot of my respect from an offensive mind. I think that he could turn around the team. I'm not willing to bet on it. Not this year. If you are willing to bet on it and it hits, then you could win a league off of that bet.
That's what I was
end up
gonna.
losing everything.
That's what I'm trying to get into. Is like, are you going and drafting these players? Are you drafting Jerry Jeudy? Because me personally,
Yes.
I'm not. I'm staying away from a team where I don't know what I saw.
I'm
last year
drafting Jerry
was
Jeudy
shit.
because they still play
So,
football. Like they still.
I get
need
that, but I'd
targets
rather
and
Amari
yards and-
Cooper. That's the same round those players are getting drafted. I'd rather Amari Cooper, someone I know is gonna go out there and get me 15 to
Amari
20
Cooper
points a
plays
game.
on a run-first team that has Deshaun Watson now, and
That's
we
another
saw-
one. It's another one. It's tricky too. Yeah.
But that's why they're being drafted there is
Where they
because
are
of the
being
question
drafted.
mark. So
Yeah.
the real key to fantasy football and winning a championship is making the right bet. I still think that Sean Payton can probably turn this team around, so that's why I want Jerry Jeudy. I don't
where
think
he's
the Browns
going-
are ever going to not be a run-first team with Nick Chubb.
Where Judy's getting drafted, though, like he's getting drafted as your wide receiver 2, if not your top flex guy, depending on how you draft in those first 5 rounds. So for me, he's getting drafted where his value is. Like if he's a wide receiver 2 for you, but you've also got a pretty stud running back, another solid wide receiver 1, and maybe even a tight end or quarterback, like, yeah, I'll take the shot on Jeudy because, like Colby's saying, like the
Because-
value that's going to be there.
The upside is that he's a wide receiver 1, not a top 5 guy. That's not Jerry Jeudy this year, most likely. But there's a high upside that he's one of the top 12 receivers in the league and a wide receiver 1 for sure. So, like, you're getting him at wide receiver 23, and he could double that value for you. That's why I want him, Austin. It's that
I feel
boom
that.
or bust. Like, his potential is... He hasn't burned me enough, I guess is the way to put it, because I know
It's been one
that
season.
It's been 2, because his rookie year was really not what it was supposed to be at all. And, like...
He was hurt a lot his rookie year. So, I mean,
And that, you gotta remember
I'm with
that.
you. The upside there at where you're now, if he was going at ADP 30 to 40 something, like, no, that's a little rich for me. Like, even in round 5, I still see other options I'm looking at. So
100%.
he's one of those guys to where I'm kind of praying he falls to me on the wraparound in round 6.
So I'm gonna give you two guys. Would you rather have Cortland Sutton and Judy or Deontay Johnson and Pickens? Both of them
Cortland
have
Sutton and
pretty much
Judy.
the same ADP. Really,
Sutton and Judy.
after seeing what Pickett was able to do with those two receivers, like we only have 1 year sample size from him, but like just seeing what he was able to do, it didn't really miss a beat from Ben
Pickens,
Roethlisberger with
I
how
want.
much he targets these guys. Like,
So I would put it like this. Austin, did we lose?
Did we lose
Okay.
Austin?
We might have. The way I would want it, if those 4 players, the way that Austin was putting it, I would prefer to have Judy and Pickens,
like
because you can get Pickens. Sorry, Austin, we lost you for a second.
Yeah.
Of those 4 players, I think that Judy and Pickens would be the 2 that I would want to have, because Pickens is going to go after Deontay Johnson, and Judy is going to go first. So you're going to get Judy, and then Pickens is going to go, Deontay Johnson's going to go, and you should be able to get Pickens as well.
Pickens is starting to
goes
go.
after
He's starting to
Deontay.
shoot up
Is
the
he?
draft board. Yeah.
He should be, man. People that are sleeping on this guy are ridiculous.
I know he's one of my favorite valued picks, like where you can get him.
So we have a comment in the comments. That's where they
Comment in
go.
the comments in the
That
chat.
was,
So it's Trey. Trey's got some players he wants us to talk about.
What
his
up with you,
redraft league,
Trey?
and maybe give a little rating. So we'll start it real quick. We got quarterback is Lamar. Wide receivers are Jamar Chase and Garrett Wilson. Running backs are Ramondre and Javonte. I love the Ramondre pick. Flex is Waddle. Wow. That's a real wide receiver heavy team. Engram, and then bench James Cook, Rashad White, Michael Pittman, Raskai Moore, Rashad Penny, and Elijah Moore.
this man knows what he's
Yeah,
Full
that's-
PPR.
that's
He picked second out of
2 of
12,
12.
teams.
No
12-team
Superflex.
league. You got Lamar,
actually
Jamar
insane.
Chase, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, and then you were
And
able
then
to
you
get
got Ramondre.
solid running backs with Ramondre and Javonte. James Cook on the bench. I love
Receiving
that
back.
draft. That is a
The
great
only-
draft for a
the only
12-team
thing I
league
would
right
have
there.
wanted-
Good job,
a little
Trey.
inspired.
Where Javonte went, if Madison was available, I would have preferred to have him there. That's right around the same time. If I could have gotten Ramondre and Alexander Madison, I would have been a lot happier with that. Ramondre, people have been scared of because of Zeke. I'm not scared at all of that. He's going to get so much production that it's not going to matter that he loses out on 5 or 6 touchdowns because of Zeke. Like, that's not going to be an issue at all.
I love the
especially where he's being
James Cook
drafted.
pick though as well. Like
Yes.
you're getting him as
First bench.
the backup behind Ramondre and Javonte. Like you're just
And-
able to interchange those 3 guys as matchups dictate. Like that is a solid draft. My guess is you went Jamar Chase 2 overall, and then hit Garrett Wilson and Waddle on the next 2, and then
On the
Lamar
wrap.
in the
Boom,
4th.
boom. Yep.
And then you,
It's
if that's
beautiful.
the case, and then you go Ramondre and Javonte after that, that is a great draft.
And then
really
he
is.
Good
waited.
job, Trey.
He waited to get
Let's
Evan
give it up for
Ingram.
Trey.
Evan Ingram, huge at the tight end position. The guy's basically a freaking wide receiver over in
I love that pick.
Jacksonville. So I love
I
that
love
pick
that.
too.
I like that
the
pick
bench-
because that's one that you wait on your tight end to get, but
Yes.
he's the best of the guys that you can wait on. So
Exactly.
there's really nothing to really nitpick at that draft. I mean, that's
He said
solid as hell.
Madison was available. Madison was actually
Damn.
available. So he
It's
went
that
with
question
Javonte
mark that
instead.
holds you back.
So the reason I like Madison more is very simple. Madison is a sure thing. We've seen Madison's production in this exact offense. We've seen what he's capable of whenever Dalvin was out. So Waddle in the 5th round.
League went heavy on running backs in the first few rounds. So you got they
remembering-
just dropped it.
Nobody can buy in on that core.
They
injury.
went running back heavy and they let Ramondre and Javonte drop. Like that's crazy.
these moves
I can't
around the
believe no
NFL.
one thought Waddle was gonna do anything. Like the guy's gonna
The
have
injury.
1,200 yards easy. It doesn't matter who's throwing the ball. He's gonna have 1,200 yards.
Well,
Like
nobody's talking about is he injured or not. Is he
Waddle?
actually
Nah,
have
he's
something
fine.
seriously wrong
Nah,
with
They're
his
he's
just
fine.
core?
they're holding him out because it's preseason. He doesn't need to play. He knows the offense. He was elite last year. I mean, he's fine. I'm not
Yeah,
worried
he's
about it.
fine.
No,
Same thing.
definitely.
Devin
He needs to come
Achane.
in and have one catch for 10 yards like Tyreek Hill last year. Like it was an elite route that Tyreek ran, but I mean that's all he did. Like what's the point of suiting up, going out there and just risking something dumb? Like I'm good with it. Sit him.
Now you don't already want to see a question mark on Achane. That's not good.
He'll be fine.
It's a shoulder. He
he's
doesn't.
day to
That's
day.
not why he's good. Is because of his shoulder. He's good because of his legs. So I'm not worried about it
point.
at all. I want to bring up one thing as well. Whenever something happens, like what happened to Trey, where the teams are starting to go running back, running back, running back, running back, running back, he didn't. He went receiver, receiver.
And
Like
I
he ended up
love
getting
that.
Waddle super late because he let him fall. He could have taken Waddle instead of like Ramondre and Javante, and he would have ended up being screwed at running back. He saw what was happening and he made an adjustment to his draft based off of that. That's really how you win the draft. Now, winning the draft doesn't mean shit about winning your league, but
Well,
it's a great start.
having-
It's a great start. Great
Having
start.
Garrett Wilson and Waddle as well. Yeah, you maybe missed out on a couple running backs or so like that, but you know what you have later in the season? Trade commodities.
Well, you've
because
also
you
got
have
25 points a
three-
game from 3 guys.
Exactly. So like that's my thing. Like the one gripe I would
Four
say is
guys.
I'm not very big on Pittman, Sky Moore, and Elijah Moore as your
But
bench
that's
wide
the
receivers.
bench. I mean, what
But
could you
your
do?
the
Who's
first three you
there
got
and-
were elite. So I mean, that's the one gripe I would have. But that's
yeah,
not
I
even a
agree.
gripe. Like
I
that's me
didn't.
finding
Yeah, it's not even
something.
worth it. Yeah.
But yeah, great job, Trey. So we got the Raiders next, the Vegas Raiders.
Like we said earlier, people are a little bit terrified of this team. You're seeing a lot of these people really fall based off of what they did last year, especially with Darren Waller being gone. A lot of targets and like
Michael
yards
Mayer.
and touchdowns are going to be available, and this guy Michael Mayer could be the recipient, or it could be
Telling
Renfro ends up
He was a
becoming
steal.
an actual wide receiver 2 again, like we've seen in the past. So
You saw
let's
how
talk
much
about it.
Jimmy loved Kittle and
True.
his tight ends. You got Austin Hooper there now from Tennessee coming over, and Michael Mayer getting drafted. You know how much I talked about Michael Mayer before we came on the YouTube with the podcast. He was my number 3 overall player in the draft. Now, granted, at that time, yes, it was probably a little high, but I do not defer. He was a top 10 guy for me in the draft.
So Dalton
overall.
Kincaid, Michael Mayer. At this point, you still prefer?
I
Michael
still
Mayer?
will take Michael Mayer because of what he's able to do for me as a run blocker. And Notre Dame tight ends are just always solid. Like
So you're
I
saying, well, just so that the
Dynasty,
people
for
understand.
Dynasty, I would absolutely jump on Michael Mayer because he has the ability to become a guy like Rob Gronkowski or George Kittle. These guys who are able to block and be effective in the blocking game, which makes them super effective in the play
In the
action
passing
game,
game.
so they
Yeah.
can chip off and leak out real quick. Like, so I don't know how much they'll cut
How do you
into
feel
each
about-
other with Hooper and Mayer, but let me put it this way. Mayer was the only one out of the two with an actual ADP. Hooper's not getting drafted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody expects
How-
anything from him.
How do you feel about Laporta?
I love Sam Laporta. He's
More
the tight
than-
end. He's going to be the tight end. I like Laporta more than Mayer for this season as a redraft league because Laporta's the clear-cut tight end 1 there, and
Yeah,
he
they have
doesn't
nobody
really
else.
have anybody to fight with him for what he's going to get. And all reports out of Lions camp is that he's expected to get TJ Hawkinson rookie level attention. So I would love Laporta this year over Mayer, but like I said, if I'm going dynasty, I'm probably going to go Mayer more. Because Garoppolo
Mayer.
loves his tight ends as well.
Laporta
That's
just
also
looks
where I'm
so
looking at.
smooth. Like his route running.
Oh,
and
he's
his
great.
abilities,
Iowa tight
he's
end.
just
You're not
so
going wrong
smooth,
with
yeah.
that.
I mean, he looks special. Jimmy G, quarterback 27. I think that he's one that, like, okay, Austin heard. The whole issue with
You got a
Jimmy
mute
G
button, son. Come on now.
is, are the Raiders good? If the Raiders are good and they're in games and they're putting up, 300 yards every game, then all of these guys, all of their ADPs except for Devontae Adams, are way too high. But
I
if the Raiders suck, then even Devontae Adams probably shouldn't be drafted. He's going to get 40 targets a game, but like, what does that matter if everyone knows he's going to get 40 targets a game? So
it's good
I
value.
I like players like Hunter Renfrow that aren't even being drafted right now.
That's insane.
Crazy. He is legitimately, Cooper Kupp is taking routes from this guy. Like in interviews, they ask him, "Oh yeah, we saw this new touchdown. It looks like a new route that you where. Oh, actually, I got that from Hunter. A couple weeks ago, I saw him run that over versus San Diego. So took that one.
It's
Los
actually
Angeles
LA now. Yep,
I know.
there you go. See, I like Jacoby Myers in the 14th round.
I don't
Because-
understand why hit him over Renfro. Can you explain? Is it just because of McDaniel and
Well, I
Jacoby
think
Myers
it's-
used to play for them?
Well, it's the New England connection. It's also Jacoby has a relationship with Jimmy because of the New England connection. Pretty sure they came in the same draft year. I know at one point they were in the same quarterback room before Jacoby Myers moved over to wide receiver.
Okay.
So for me, like for the 14th round, yeah, I'll take Jacoby. But I do agree with you. Renfro, his only value is in full point PPR. And even then, you're still only looking at like maybe 10 points a game from him. Like if you get 14 to 16 points from him, you're ecstatic. But because you're looking at 4 to 5 receptions for maybe 40 to 50 yards. He's
But for my
getting
wide
tackled
receiver
as soon as he
3,
gets it.
or my flex in a 3 wide receiver league, I think that getting 10 points a game,
It depends on how
every
many
game, no matter
teams are
what,
in your league. Like in a
10 or
12-team
12,
league, okay. 10-team league,
225
he's not gonna.
ADP.
He's not gonna. In a
This man should
10-team
be
league, he's
drafted.
never gonna see your. He's never gonna see your lineup unless you have a
He should be
crazy
drafted.
bye week.
You're right that it's not touchdowns. He's not getting touchdowns. Devontae Adams is getting touchdowns. Josh Jacobs is getting touchdowns. Michael Mayer is getting touchdowns. It's not Hunter Renfrow. But dude, he's gonna get 10 targets a game. Like the guy is open so much. I understand that last year, at the end of the year, they were kind of bad, and I think even might have got hurt, or just like his production wasn't what it was in the past.
That's because of Devontae Adams. See, last year
Yes.
he went from like 9.7 targets a game all the way down to 5 targets a game because Devontae Adams was getting 9 to 11 targets a game.
Dude, it was crazy.
It's just one of those receivers like you have to have on your team for injury aspects. If anybody goes down on that team,
yes,
his value is
that.
going through the roof because you know what he can give you. Like if Devontae goes down, Hunter Renfrow is the number 1 guy on that team. Like
Now, and again, though, with Jimmy coming in, you don't know if he'll have a different relationship with him than Derek Carr did. You don't know if Jimmy will look at him more because Jimmy is the safer playing quarterback. So Jimmy is going to look at, oh, it's not open down there. Where's Hunter at 5 yards down the field? Like, so I see you there. Like, he does need to be on your roster. I mean, where 225 is his ADP, round 22.
That's crazy.
Last
If
pick
he's
of
not
your
being
draft.
drafted.
Last
He's
pick
not
of your
being
draft, put
drafted.
him on your roster. It's not hurting you at all.
It's an easy one. We've said that like 6 times with KJ Osborne and a lot of these guys, but honestly, man, like this guy's gonna be the second or third most targeted person on this offense, and if you don't have him on your roster, you're definitely messing up. It's a huge mistake.
if you're not using him like Julian Edelman was for the Patriots, it's like what are you doing with this guy? He is literally Julian Edelman.
Agreed.
Like
agreed. He's so
just
shifty. He's
watch
got great
Tom's tape.
hands. Like,
But
he
again,
could potentially
Edelman,
develop
Wes
into Cooper
Welker,
Kupp.
their value was coming from getting 12 targets a game because Tom Brady was all about just, that I know it's not open downfield, and I know he's going to be open on the 7-yard route.
Yeah, and he's not a Tom Brady. He's not no 6'4" quarterback standing back there in the pocket. But like, I mean,
I will say this though, I'm going to give it to him. Jimmy G, that man looks good in any football uniform you put him in. Like seeing him in a Raiders uniform was not weird. Like he just looks like a football player. Like a
He's a
quarterback
model,
you
bro.
build in your lab. Like this is what we want. We need you to look like Clark Kent but then you're also going to look great in a football uniform. Like, saw a picture of them the other day in the Raiders uni, and I was like, you know what? This guy could play for any team in the league and pull it off.
No, not any. Stop what you're saying. Not the Cowboys. Don't ever put him.
He would look great in a Cowboys uniform.
No,
Tell
he
me
wouldn't.
he wouldn't.
Okay, no,
Tell me he wouldn't.
I would kill
That's
myself.
funny.
Those women in Dallas would go nuts for some Jimmy G down there.
God
Are you
damn it.
kidding me?
No, you shut up.
It would be
Oh, yeah,
Cougar
he would look
Central on the
good in
field for
teal.
him.
You
He'd
would
look good
want
in a
him over there in
Dolphins
Miami?
uniform. Yeah.
Goddamn
So-
right, he would. Y'all take him.
So
He's made for the beach.
closing arguments. I've been hearing a bunch of talk. I heard it today specifically about how the Dolphins are now trying to trade for Jonathan Taylor. And we're going to keep hearing it. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to hear about how everybody that doesn't have a top 20 running back, maybe 15, is trying to trade for Jonathan Taylor. So let's just talk about it real quick. I don't think that any team is going to give what the Colts are going to require for Jonathan Taylor to get him. That's the whole issue. That what they're going to want in draft capital, nobody will give for a running back. Like,
Not one team in the league.
nobody.
Well, my thing,
not a team.
we know how elite he is. The Colts are wanting first round value out of a guy they got in the second round, who has not led the league in rushing, has not led the league in touchdowns. He has not led the league in anything.
He's
like,
been
so-
hurt the last 2 seasons.
Exactly. So, and I agree with you. Now, my thing with the Dolphins, like, I know we bring the Dolphins up every podcast. We're sorry, but we're not sorry. It's going to happen. But with the Dolphins, for the last 5 to 7 seasons, the Dolphins have been linked to every major free agent running back, every major running back on the trade block, and every major running back within the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft. You know what the Dolphins have not done in 5 to 7 years? Signed
gotten any
any
of
of them.
You know what's
They
different?
just do not see the value there. They're
You know what's
completely
different?
fine with their stable of the guys that they have there. Jonathan Taylor would be awesome,
He
but Chris
would be
Greer
so fun.
is not going to give up that draft capital for Jonathan
It doesn't
Taylor.
make
The
any
rumors were out
sense.
there that they put out an offer for Saquon Barkley. That didn't happen. So what does that tell you? They weren't offering hardly anything for Saquon to what they were wanting. So if you're not giving Saquon value, you're not giving Jonathan Taylor value.
Those
So-
are
I'd rather
two
Saquon.
totally different scales, though. Like
I'd
age
rather
difference,
Saquon.
much bigger age difference.
Jonathan Taylor's younger, and
Not
I would
that-
rather Saquon.
They're not that big
That's
in
my
age
point,
difference.
though. Like they're
They're not
huge
that
difference.
far apart in age.
Nah,
4 years
it's
apart.
Well, see, my thing with
1 or 2
Jonathan
years.
Taylor, I don't look
Let's
at his
look it
pro
up.
career. I don't look at his pro
Y'all
career.
tripping.
I look at his career at Wisconsin
I can't.
and how
look it
many carries that guy was getting every season in college. That dude was getting pounded into the ground in college. He came into the league with over 2,000 carries in college.
Yeah.
Like, so that's my thing with these running backs, because they get into the league.
Look at Todd Gurley, dude.
Look at Trent Richardson, Mark
Yeah.
Ingram. These guys get absolutely worn to the ground in college because they can, and then they're sent off to the league because the college don't need them anymore. You're there for a max of 4 years anyways. And so
That's
that's,
where, like-
my holdup with, and that's why you see these guys that are going in the later rounds of the draft because, oh, well, they only started 1 season or they only played a couple seasons at this
They
position.
were
or
a
something.
committee,
They've got
and they only got
fresh
150
legs.
carries a game. Yeah, or a
Exactly.
year. Like
Exactly.
it makes a big difference. I think that the other thing is these guys like that are on like Georgia. Whenever Georgia has like 3 or 4 running backs that are getting drafted every year, because all of them are sick, but none of them are getting Alabama level production. None of them are getting 300 carries a year. So like that's the difference maker, I think. And that's where I think that it depends on the team. Like the school that they went to gives me a lot on like what am I going to do with this running back when they get into the league. So we've got another episode wrapped up and in the books, brought to you by Tulsi Rose Tea, tulsirosetea.com for all your tea and tea accessories.
Slip up,
That's
young
them drinking
bloods.
tea, everybody, for those that were confused.
Pinky
So
out.
we've got another episode next
Pinky
week. Who do you
up.
guys want to cover?
We're doing the AFC East next week, so that way we can make sure you're able
Ooh.
to get in on it. Because
Well,
I
you know
believe
what?
the week after is when you won't be able to record with us.
He didn't know that, but we have a surprise visitor that's going to be coming in next week. Sut's going to come in for the week and give us a little bit of his insight. Didn't realize that was going to be the AFC East episode. Sorry in advance, Austin.
Yeah, I hate that episode.
Hey, we
Austin
did the
might sit out
NFC
next
East.
week.
We
Suck,
did the
suck,
NFC
suck.
East.
So, all right. So, thanks for joining, guys. Make sure to comment, subscribe, like.
Give us the
Everyone,
likes.
give Trey some props and some love for throwing in his roster. He might have just lied to all of us because we didn't see the screenshot yet, but I'm sure he'll put it in there. All right.
Yeah,
Thanks
that
for
was
watching,
easy.
and we'll see you guys all next week.